Welcome to Section 3, Image Processing. In this section, we're going to learn how to use some of the OpenCV function to process images in our application. In this first video, we're going to learn how to apply a Gaussian blur to smooth our image. This is a great method to remove noises from our image. So, first, we have to go to Qt Creator and open our project. Once in here, we have to go to the frame.h file, and we're going to add a new QInvocable function to our frame class. So let's go in here and define a bool function that will be smooth image, and it will take non-parameter. Perfect. So we have this function, and we're going to use our refactor tool to create our definition in the .cpp file. Perfect. And once in here, we want to start defining our function. So the first thing that we need to do is to check if our raw frame is not empty, so we can apply the filter. So for that, let's check if it's not empty with this function in here. And if the raw frame is empty, we want to return false. Perfect. Now, to apply our Gaussian blur, we're going to be applying the Gaussian blur to smooth our image. We need to create a temporary matte object. And this object will hold the result of our raw frame after applying the Gaussian blur. And now that we have our temp matte object, we can call the Gaussian blur OpenCV function and start filling it. So we're going to define the source will be the raw frame, the destination will be the temporary matte object that we just create. Now we need the size of the kernel for this Gaussian blur, and I want to focus in this course on how we can use OpenCV with QML. So I will not get into details about how the Gaussian blur works and all the mathematical operation that computer vision involves. So if you need to check this kind of information, you can go to the OpenCV site. That is a great source for the information. They have a great documentation there. But in this course, I will be focusing about the relationship between OpenCV, Qt, and QML. But before we go on, I want to tell a little about the Gaussian blur. The Gaussian blur is one of the most used methods to reduce noise in our image, and it will be, we're going to use this kernel size, that is the third parameter in this function, and this is a kind of a square that will go through every single position in our matte object, our raw frame object, and will apply an operation and will copy that operation in the corresponding position in the temp matte object. And perfect. Now that we have defined our Gaussian blur, we can go and set our raw frame to the result. That will be our temp object. And you might be wondering, why didn't I say raw frame equal to temp like this? And this is really a valid way, but if we check our set raw frame function in here, up here, and we can see that we set the value to the raw frame, but we also call the convert to QImage function. So if you remember from the previous section, we did that to update our view to grab this math object, convert it into a QImage, and can draw our view, our image in our QML view. So I would like to use this function already because we spent a lot of time in the previous section working with it. So I will go this way and return, return true. Perfect. So if we see, let's check this for a moment before we go to our QML view. So we first have to check if the raw frame is not empty. If the raw frame is empty, it will return false. And if we have load an image in the raw frame, we're going to create a math object to hold temporarily the Gaussian blur result. We're going to apply our Gaussian blur to the raw frame, and we're going to set the raw frame using the function that we create in the previous section. So we can update our view and then return true. Perfect. Once we finish with that, let's go to the show image file. And before we get started, I want to make a little change in here in the column layout that contains our image. And this is just to show you better my screen so you can see the application better in this video when you're watching in your screen. I will set my width and height for this object to half of the size of my page. Perfect. And let me check this a little, just quick. Let's make a little build in here, see if everything is alright. Okay, let's go to show image, and perfect, I have this. And also I will make something with these buttons before we can move on. So in here I will remove this layout profile width because I will add another button and I want to have some space in my application. Perfect. It seems a little awkward, but we're going to fix that. Remove this, the spacing also, right? And perfect. Now let's put another button in here, and this will be the button that we're going to click to apply the smoothing. So let's change the text to smooth, and we're going to leave the onClick function empty right now. And before I go on, I want to create a dialog, and this dialog will show me an error message if I didn't open an image before trying to apply the smooth filter. So in here, let's go to the bottom of the file and create a dialog really quick. And we're going to put an ID of error alert, a title that will be error. We're going to put a text inside our dialog, and this will be please open an image. And finally, we want to add a button to this dialog, and this will be through the property standard buttons, and we're going to call the standard button dot OK. Perfect. And we're going to show this dialog when we try to apply our filter, but we haven't opened a file. So now that we define that, let's finish our button, and we want to check if we open an image first, but for that, we already done that in our CPP. So let's go to the frame.cpp, and you will see we put that if the raw frame is empty, we're going to return false. If not, we're going to apply the filter and we're going to return true. And in order to have an image in the raw frame, we have to call the open image first, and they both queue-invocable function. So in here, you will have the selected image open image function to open an image, and we're going to use the smooth image function that we just create, so we can check if we open or not an image and apply the filter. So for that, we're going to make use of our selected image object, and remember that is a frame object that we expose to QML, and it has our smooth image function. Perfect. And if this function returns false, that means we haven't opened an image yet. We have to go and say that we want to open the error alert dialog. Perfect. So I think we're ready. Let's run this application and make a test. So go to show image. We have our 3 buttons in here. Perfect. If we try to apply our smooth filter, perfect, you will see the alert. Please open an image. And now let's open an image. Okay, let's select something. I will choose this. Okay, and now we are going to apply smooth, and the filter is working perfectly.